morning, everybody, and welcome to this second appointment with our flexibility project. My name is Claudia Buono, and today, with my colleague Fabio Lazzarin, we'll bring you into the world of construction and concrete. The meeting will last approximately 40 minutes, during which we will try to respond to your questions also. If not possible because of time, we will reply to you separately. So don't forget to leave your email address and we will contact you later. Last, please fill out our satisfaction survey. The webinar is divided into 4 parts. In the first part, I will give you a general overview of the world of construction. The second part will be an interesting interview my colleagues Elisa and Antonio did to Nicola Donà, the owner of an Italian construction company. Fabio will hold the third part and will give you interesting information and recommendations on how to choose the right rubber hose for a specific application. In the third part, I'll be back for the question and answer time. So either if you work in the world of construction, but also actually if you don't do, you have for sure noticed that in the last decades, tendency is that on one side, the tendency is that of building taller and high-tech building. But on the other hand, also, mankind is always eager to explore the dark of subsoil. To do this, sometimes a basic knowledge is not enough because specific projects, maybe specific projects and knowledge and know-how are required. This, for example, the slide you are seeing now shows what we can call, what we can maybe call ice piling. So when you think in general about the world of construction, you don't only have to think about simple concrete pumping, but also to other applications, like, for example, ground foundation, piling, drilling, and to a certain extent also to the world of quarries and mines. But this is actually a separate issue. So when we talk about hoses for abrasive material, you don't only have to think about concrete and cement, but an abrasive hose can convey other type of materials, like, for example, sand, mixture of wet and dry materials, drilling mud, chemical, waste of rocky products and debris, and also compressed air and water. And this is why in a construction field, you won't only find concrete hoses, but also what we call accessory service hoses. So at this stage, you for sure have understood how important it is to recognize and choose the right rubber hose manufacturer able to grant you the highest quality hose for a smooth and long service. And what are the characteristics this manufacturer shall grant you in the production and supply process? First of all, a vertical integration. It should be able to control the chain from the beginning to the end, which means from the raw materials to the finished product. It should be able to manufacture, to produce your hoses on a dedicated department. It should be able to grant you some stock, because we all know how demanding construction people are. And when construction people ask for a hose, they really need it quickly. It should be able to guarantee the complete assembly, therefore not only the hose, but the end fittings and the safety systems, if any. It should grant you the possibility of customizing also small batches. And what are the characteristics of a good abrasive hose? First of all, it has to be long-lasting in order to avoid wasting of time and money. It should be easy to handle, but at the same time very flexible, because it must ease the worker's job on the field. Third, it should be resistant to pressure, but at the same time prove stability, in order to avoid the incidents that may occur on the field. Fourth, it should have a specific high resistance of the inner tube, suitable to convey a specific abrasive material. You for sure have recognized, I guess better than I do, this slide show a concrete field and the main application you can find in it. Fabio will explain later on this slide more in detail. But first, please don't miss the interview of Elisa and Antonio with Nicola Donà. We will be back then for the final questions. I hope you found this webinar interesting, and see you later then. Ciao.
Quanto è importante che anche un tubo in gomma soddisfi questo livello e sia all'altezza del vostro parco macchine?
Sì, cioè è fondamentale il discorso del tubo in gomma, perché la macchina deve essere giustamente all'avanguardia e essere dotata delle ultime tecnologie, però se ti trovi un tubo in gomma affermo alla tecnologia degli anni 50 ti dura pochissimo e dopo hai subito i problemi in cantiere. Invece il vostro tubo, sono sincero, negli anni è cresciuto sia di tecnologia ma anche di durata, insomma, quindi è fondamentale.
Secondo lei, signor Donà, quali sono le caratteristiche di un tubo in gomma che possono facilitare il lavoro degli operatori in cantiere?
La prima cosa, loro richiedono flessibilità, e quindi che non si tratti di un tubo troppo rigido, altrimenti quando ti trovi in cantiere con un tubo in gomma che di fatto è come se fosse un tubo in ferro, ti crea seri problemi perché non riesci a manovrarlo, può diventare anche pericoloso perché magari uno spostamento inatteso può creare anche dei danni sia agli operatori ma anche alla struttura che tu stai costruendo, che stanno realizzando. Siccome le pompe e i calcestruzzi sono diventati molto più performanti, la pressione che viene esercitata all'interno del tubo negli anni è cresciuta e quindi deve essere importante la flessibilità e la resistenza alla pressione, altrimenti puoi avere seri problemi nel cantiere.
Quali sono secondo lei i momenti di rischio durante il pompaggio del calcestruzzo?
Sempre il problema è all'inizio, perché quando si parte per iniziare il getto è facile che o la pompi si intasi oppure, essendo il calcestruzzo molto performante, e quando esce di getto, se tu hai un tubo troppo rigido, questo crea una specie di movimento anomalo che può danneggiare oppure creare anche problemi alla gente sicuramente, quindi di solito non è mai agevole un cantiere, quindi certe volte per realizzare il cantiere bisogna applicare una serie di tubazioni per arrivare al punto di realizzo dell'opera e quindi diventa fondamentale che il tubo nel tempo abbia una durata e ti permetta anche di capire la sua usura, altrimenti puoi avere problemi sia di realizzo ma anche poi creare danni alle persone.
E se le chiedessi quanto è importante che ci sia un unico fornitore che certifichi la qualità della manichetta completa, quindi tubo più raccordi.
È fondamentale, cioè nel senso è meglio avere un tubo come quello dell'IUG che è performante, a un prezzo giusto e che quindi ti dà quella garanzia di non avere problemi ogni giorno quando lavori, insomma, quindi di avere questa continuità che è fondamentale.
Parlando dei nostri raccordi specifici per il calcestruzzo, come vi trovate? Mi riferisco magari al nostro sistema di pestatura full flow, avete avuto dei vantaggi nell'averli, nell'utilizzarli?
Sì, perché in sostanza ci siamo accorti che rispetto ai raccordi della concorrenza, siccome il punto più delicato del tubo è proprio la giunzione, perché quando si deteriorano vengono fuori le tele e quello, anzi vengono fuori, io li chiamo filamenti, e quello praticamente ti crea il problema fondamentale che non scorre più il calcestruzzo e hai l'intasamento della betonpompa. E quindi il fatto che il vostro tubo sia durato di più rispetto a quello della concorrenza è proprio dovuto al raccordo.
Secondo lei quali potrebbero essere le caratteristiche del tubo in gomma del futuro per il calcestruzzo?
Niente, voi siete già sulla strada del futuro, quindi
Ah,
non
bene.
avete problemi perché rendetevi conto che se il tubo vostro dura già il doppio rispetto a un altro, prima di tutto non si creano rifiuti e al secondo tempo avete aumentato di molto la durata del prodotto e questo sicuramente fa sì che il prodotto sia ecosostenibile, cioè nel senso che non sia una cosa usa e getta, ma bensì ti ha la possibilità di utilizzarlo per molto più tempo e quindi di creare meno rifiuti e soprattutto dargli un futuro insomma, migliore sia a noi che anche a chi ci seguirà e quindi è un occhio particolare all'ambiente insomma.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you all for being here today with us. Now it's my turn to speak about the concrete hoses. Concrete hoses for a very concrete world, where it's always a matter of making the right choice and possibly in the shortest time. What we are gonna do now is having a glance at the two main applications where these hoses may be found, that is concrete pumping and piling and foundation. Then we will move forward and see how to choose the right hose for both. The choice is yours, the choice is your company's, but what we can see is that four main needs lead to the decision to taking the decision and having a very good and reliable hoses. But let's start with a picture of a construction site where the two applications are shown with the set of the machines involved for both and with the range of concrete hoses that IVG can propose. Yes, because, in a construction site, you can see a lot of hoses, but how to detect and choose the right one? Let's start with concrete pumping. Usually, the most common hose that you can find is a steel wire hose with a working pressure of 85, 100 bars and a burst pressure of 200 bars. In some cases, you may find manufacturers that propose a burst pressure of 170, but I think that it is a limit for safety of the workers, and also a sign that reveal that the hose has not all the characteristics that make it the right choice, especially because the structure is not the same. For this application, what is very important is that the hose keep being steady, and there is no bending all along the hose. And this is specific of a hose whose material and process of manufacturing are under control by the manufacturer. Another important feature to be taken into account is the full vacuum in order to grant the operators with structure and hoses, enabling to perform the reverse pumping cleaning. Another kind of hose, typically used as a boom hose, is an hose with textile reinforcement, always with a working pressure of 85 bar. But in this case, the burst pressure is lower. It's lower because it is 170 bar. This is due to the specific nature of the textile reinforcement that cannot grant the same strength and resistance to the pressure. But once again, what is very important to ensure these parameters, these values, is that your manufacturer has under control all the process. Having under control all the process means that the manufacturer can also design a specific structure going ahead and propose something that is very useful for your purpose in the field. A typical example of this is a specific hose with a special textile reinforcement, in this case enabling to withstand a 100 bar working pressure and 200 bars burst pressure. But what is typical of this kind of structure is that they absorb shocks and vibrations. That is, they prevent the whip effect, one of the most dangerous effects that may occur in a construction site. But this is not enough. Your customer, the workers working with a concrete hose must rely on the entire assembly. So the working pressure and the burst pressure, whatever it is, even more than 100 bar, have to be respected by all the assembly. So also the couplings are involved. How to see if a coupling is a good coupling? Once again, if the manufacturer has the control on materials, the materials the couplings are made of, and all the process of manufacturing of the couplings, but also assembling, you may be sure that you have a good hose and a good assembly. Another typical sign of process control is that your manufacturer may propose several all types and size of couplings, and all of them must be hardened and possibly galvanized in order to avoid weak points and also the rust. But what is very peculiar and essential is a reliable, a real full flow stretched on system. Because, as you know, this may enable your hoses, your assembly to have a longer lifetime. And to have a longer lifetime, it is also necessary that the hoses are protected, the assembly are protected. So there are very specific things that may be done in order to prevent all kind of damage during deliveries of the assembly, but also while the hoses are stored. And this is true also, even more for the piling and foundation application. In this case, there is only a type of hose involved, a steel wire hose with a structure withstanding 85 or 100 bar, even though we know that it is difficult to achieve this kind of working pressure in service. And always the burst pressure must be 200 bar. The structure of these kind of hoses are special because there is not only the problem and the issues of the concrete pumping application, but also the effect and the stresses, the mechanical stresses that these hoses are submitted to, because we are talking about a line of a combination, a line of several assemblies, or just one hose on a length of 15, 20, 30 meters. So you must have a flexible and reliable loop hose, enabling capable to withstand the torque, capable to withstand the movement up and down of the drill, and with an excellent bending radius. That means no kink. So the flow of the concrete is not stopped during working. And there are also heavier applications, such as this one shown in the picture, while a machine with a reel is involved. This is a slane, an escargot. This is how the French customer call it. And on it you can see two sections, two hoses, two assemblies of more than 50 meter length, combined together, connected together with a low profile connection. In this case, the application, the stress, the mechanical stress involved are even higher than the previous one, because as you can see, there is the torque, but there is especially the tensile load due to the hose reel rolled up on the reel and apply on the idle wheel. What is very important in this case is that the structure not only withstand the working pressure and the burst pressure, but also may withstand the weight of the hose and all the stresses, all the forces involved. And once again, it is not only a matter of hose. Once again, the control of the materials are critical and mandatory, and also the process control for assembling. Once again, and even more important is the choice of materials and type and size of couplings, as well as their nature. That is, if they are hardened and galvanized, you can have a more efficient hose and assembly. And once again, in order to end your work in the due time, a full flow is absolutely necessary. And if your supplier, if the manufacturer also managed some accessories for these assemblies, it is better for your work because you have a unique solution from a unique supplier in terms of accessories, but also in terms of security system, such as the case of IVG with the integrated system involving the couplings for safety application, for safe applications, sorry. Now it's time to summarize a little bit the criteria, let's say, to choose the right hose. And you can see them here in this chart. Obviously, the lifetime. Once again, the resistance to pressure, the flexibility, the lightness, weight, and the stability of the hose while working. In addition, while you are choosing a hose, a supplier, you have to take into consideration also some ancillary features such as the possibility of reverse pumping for cleaning. For helping you in this choice, we at IBG are always available for suggestion and recommendation, but there are also some other tools to choose. For example, our datasheet or the leaflet, as you can see here, with a simple suggestion and easy to read characteristic of the hose. But what are the four main needs that lead to a choice? This one: performance, cost saving, safety, and environment. These are some parameters, some criteria that you may adopt, that you certainly adopt, at least one of them that you adopt while choosing a hose. Performance is probably the first and related to all the other ones, because if you have an efficient hose, you can have cost saving, safety for your workers, and also some lower impact on environment. But let's see what this means. Performance, you can achieve a good result in performance, quick casting, and very reliable hoses and machine process, etc. If you have a hose with specific rubber compounds, specifically designed to withstand the abrasion of the concrete, but also some of the additional substances, chemical substances that you can find into the modern concrete. The structure of the hose is important to have a good performance because, as I told you, you have to rely in a hose withstanding always a working pressure, even when the structure, the hose and components, specifically the lining of the hose, are a little wear out during working. Another important point for the performance at bending radius: if you have a good hose with a good flexibility and bending radius, you avoid kinks, and so your flow, the concrete flow, is better and works better, and your operation will last in a little less. Then, very important, the couplings, as we told earlier, and the real full flow, in order to avoid any lack, in order to avoid any lack of pressure, and to keep very efficient your hose. This translates in cost saving, because if you have reliable hoses, the long lasting, you reduce the turnover of this, so your purchases. Flexibility without kinks, as I said, translating the cost saving for the same reason. But what is important is also the composition of the hose, the material, the control of the material, because specific material, the choice of specific components of the rubber compound, for example, make the hoses resistant to weather and ozone. So makes the hose last more than the standard one, for example, even when reused, even when they are stored in your warehouse. And another important thing for IBG, one of the IBG answer to choose the right hose and is also to accompany the supply with some advice about cleaning and advice about storage that you can find in our data sheet. And then we move to safety. This important word for a construction word, very typical, even more important than in the other field, because it is involved the life of human people. So what IBG does, what IBG recommends about safety for user. IBG recommend to use a hose respecting working pressure and burst pressure in a regular way. I mean, your supplier should grant you that the first hose and the latest hose supplied has the same characteristic and withstand the working pressure and the burst pressure. Also, as I told you, in order to improve the safety of the workers, you can select some special structure, tie whip, or some specific special couplings and safety systems, containment, but not only. These are all elements of a manufacturing process and a proposal under control. And what is peculiar of IBG also is that we make our own branding, and in a sister company of our group, so we can mark our hoses with specific branding, with specific warning that remind your workers the good practice while working. And also there is the specific advice for users. So submit when you have an IBG hose, the advice that you can find in the data sheet to your crews. As to the environment, I just wanted to remind you what Nicola Donna has told earlier during his interview. There is no need of more comments or further words. If you have any questions, do not hesitate and contact me. I'm available to get even deeper into the matter. My colleagues too. But now you also have available some 15 minutes with Claudia for a question time. For me is all, so thank you very much once again, and maybe see you in the next construction site. Bye-bye.
Hello again. So here we are with a couple of questions arrived during Fabio's speech. So Tom asks, which is the maximum length we can crimp? Well, we can actually crimp up to 60 meters, 200 feet for the American friends. But apart from our possibility, apart from the length we can actually crimp, you also have to consider how you are gonna to handle such a big and heavy hose. and also how you have to ship them. Sometimes it is very easy to handle big pallets with a 60-meter Shannon hose in it. And also, actually, we crimped up to we crimped assemblies like 18 meters long, 25, 30, 35. And actually, I think we have never been asked longer hose. Anyway, we don't know actually if there are applications for requiring these long lengths. Second, Juan is asking if we have hoses with a working pressure higher than 100 bar. The answer is yes, we do have. It is our Shannon Extreme with 150 working pressure, and it is for special stationary pumps. You can give a look to our technical brochure. If you don't have it, leave your email address and we will send some copies of it. We have now time for a last quick question. And Leo asked if we have particular suggestion for maintenance and cleaning of concrete hoses. Thanks, Leo, for this really important question, and which actually requires more time than what we actually have, unfortunately. As you might know, typical failure of concrete hose occur when the hose has not been duly cleaned. So we suggest to clean the hose. Of course, actually, the best would be to clean a hose after every application. We, of course, understand this is not possible. So we suggest you do it at least at the end of the day, once the operations of the day are finished. And you can maybe reserve some time for hose cleaning. To do this, you can use special rubber balls that we also have available. And that's all. This short operation will prevent premature failure of the hose itself, caused by the stack of the concrete inside the hose. So I guess our time is over, and I hope again you found everything interesting. See you then for the next appointment with the flexibility project of IBG. Thanks a lot again. Ciao.